Hello and welcome to another Parry's Pickup. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today I'll be talking about PS4 games exclusively, so if you have no interest in PS4 games then I guess you don't want to watch this video. Otherwise, we're going to talk a little bit about Tekken 7. Tekken 7 is a game I picked up fairly recently, it's not been out very long. I bought this from, I think, Smith's Toys online, where it was the cheapest I could find it, £35. It's still in the more expensive price bracket at the moment. I'd say worth every penny though. It's really good. It's I've enjoyed this more than I even expected to enjoy it. I've always enjoyed Tekken games. I've never felt like I'm particularly great at Tekken. I love Namco's other fighting franchise with a passion, that is Soul Calibur. Tekken is a game I've always enjoyed playing, but I've always had friends that are so much better at Tekken than me. But I think over the years I've been playing Tekken kind of more casually. I've really grown an appreciation of it, and my appreciation of Tekken has grown even further with Tekken 7, which I think is perhaps the greatest Tekken package there ever has been. I think since Tekken 5, the gameplay has been refined to perfection. At least this is the ultimate Tekken game. Very high praise, I know, but I think it's worth it. Has a story mode, which is slightly unique. I know the last Tekken 6 did have some sort of story mode. I didn't play very much of that, so I don't know how the two differ. This one is probably about 2.5 hour mark. So you have got a narrative running through this from the perspective of a reporter who's lost his family in a terrible disaster that was caused by the Mishima Corporation. I think, at least he blames Jin Kazama for it. Or Gene, as I have now discovered is the correct pronunciation for his name. But it revolves more around the relationship between Kazuya and Heihachi. For most of this game you play as Heihachi, and you do get to see Heihachi's side of things, which is the most interesting revelation to this storyline. So it was actually quite enjoyable. There's not a huge amount of depth to the story, but it does. You do get chances to play as some other different characters other than Heihachi. But he's a character you'll follow through the majority of the story mode. There's a lot more there than there is in the arcade mode, which is very short and it's a straight version of the arcade mode from the arcade without the bells and whistles. So it's fairly easy to do the on the standard difficulty. The arcade mode is. The story mode, I found at least on the very last stage of the fight, the final fight of the game, I had to turn the difficulty down. I had this on normal all the way through the story mode. I was so reluctant to lower the difficulty just to complete the last part, but it got to the point where I was finding it pretty ridiculous and I wasn't enjoying myself anymore, so I put the difficulty down a level, which I did feel kind of cheap for doing that, but it did improve my experience somewhat. So yeah, maybe one day once I'm a Tekken master, which I'm still far from being yet, then I'll attempt that again. But it was a truly epic ending to the storyline. As well as that main story, you've got some character-specific missions, and they really are just one fight. They have some sort of scenario built around them, and they kind of relate to each other. For example, I played Bob's and Brian's, which were related somewhat, but there's really not a lot there. It's more of a bonus than anything, but you can play through a fight with each of the other characters, I'd say, that has some sort of significance, or doesn't, depending on how you interpret it. So the online also works super well on this game. I've played quite a few matches online, been really enjoyable. They've made you can search for people of the similar kind of ability level to you, so that's nice. So I've had some. It enables you to have some good, fair matches. One thing that is interesting about this game is the Rage Art ability. It's sort of like I forgot what they're called, but there was a similar thing in Soul Calibur 5, where you could do like when your health gets super low, you do like a super move. So it kind of can give you an upper hand if you're really struggling with a fight. That sometimes leads to some interesting situations where, as soon as you know your opponent's got the rage art move, you sort of you put your defences up a little bit. It does change the gameplay quite considerably, and that's the biggest change from this Tekken game from other Tekken games that have gone before it. Not sure how much I like it, because sometimes you end up with a situation where whoever pulls off the rage move first wins the match, because they are quite powerful. So, it's very easy to do. You just press R1 as well, so there's not really any skill involved there. They do look pretty cool, and it doesn't break the game. It's just, I'm not sure how keen I am on it. But yeah, I still had some fun matches. There's lots of characters in this game as well. Over 35 apparently, just looking at the back of the box there. But there's plenty to keep you busy in this package, and it's well worth the asking price, I'd say. Can't try the VR mode because I've not got PlayStation VR. I've heard they're not much cop anyway. Moving on to a game which disappointed me. For another franchise which I like and would buy every instalment of the series, as I have done here. This is Micro Machines World Series. Yes, you those who are familiar with this game are going to understand where I'm coming from here. It's a major disappointment, and you feel like some of these issues the game has could be remedied rather easily. There is no real single player to speak of. That you can do single races against computer AI, but there's really no sort of tournament mode there, which is what you expect usually from a Micro Machines game, at least a full retail game. It is cheaper than most. I got it for £20. I think it's retailing around about 25. But still, even then, the lack of content is disappointing. I don't think that Supersonic were involved with this game, because if they had have been, it would have been a lot better. Supersonic developed all the other Micro Machines games, as far as I know. They did the fantastic Toy Box Turbos, which is a wonderful game, and Toy Box Turbos is 10 times better than this game is. So maybe we'll get a port of that to PS4, but for now you can play that on PS3 and Xbox 360. So the problems continue in this game, sadly, and the handling isn't quite as you'd expect it to be from a Micro Machines game, which is a real shame. There's one car has tracks, it's like a snowplow, and that one feels like you expect it to. So I noticed a lot of people online were using this vehicle, which I only use now because it just increases my enjoyment of the game tenfold. But that's a real shame that there's only, so far, that I could have found one vehicle that is fun to drive. Not looking so good so far, is it? You have the battle mode, which is new in this Micro Machines. It's not a mode I've played very often, because Micro Machines, I want to be doing the racing. Fair enough. But the battle mode, from what I played in the tutorial, was actually quite good, and you feel like maybe that's the selling point of this game. But if you're an old school Micro Machines fan just wants to play the racing, then you're going to be a little bit disappointed in this one, I think. So the main content for the racing fan is within the online mode, as there isn't much in the single player. But again, that has its issues. They're 12-player online races. The tracks are chosen randomly, and I say so you never really know what track you're going to get. There don't seem to be a lot of tracks, but all the tracks within the game are very well realised. The graphics in this game are very well done. Presentation-wise, it is very nice. But I've seems very limited, the track selection. I mean, older Micro Machine games, there's so many different tracks, and it's part of the appeal of the franchise that you got to play in all these different areas. It's starting to feel like it's just the beginning of a larger game, and I'm imagining there's going to be a lot of planned DLC for this game, extra tracks. Well, I hope they do in the DLC sort out some of the game's other problems. I mentioned those 12 races you have, only 6 of them are human controlled. There's always 6 AI races on there. 12 is a lot of cars, and it can get a bit messy at times. It doesn't seem to have the same emphasis on characters as the older Micro Machines games do. The only time I've seen the traditional familiar characters pop up is as the AI characters are listed before a race, and you get a very small thumbnail and you can recognise some of the old characters in there, but it feels like it's sort of tucked away. Each individual vehicle does have its own character and voiceover, which I guess is nice, but you never really see the humans driving these vehicles. Once you've done a race, which is kind of alright, you know, the tracks aren't terrible by any means. The weapons are limited, the 3 weapons, one's a Nerf gun, and I guess that's because Micro Machines is Hasbro property. They've also including other Hasbro licenses in there. It's kind of a weedy weapon that isn't that much fun to use, but can get the job done. The hammer is by far the most successful weapon in the game, and could even feel a little bit overpowered compared to the other ones. The other one is a mine, which you can drop. It doesn't usually hit because it's sort of, yeah, it's not the best at least. So once you finish the race, going back to that, you are kicked out of the group you're in, and you have to find another game. Rather than like Call of Duty, for instance, it will move you into another match. It will also give you options to vote on the map in Call of Duty, at least. It'd be nice to have that here. You know, between each game, you could vote for the next track. Maybe they're trying to cover up the fact there's only like a handful of tracks in this game. But if you're going to do a patch for this, you're going to do DLC for it, make sure you fix that, because it's sort of inexcusable to have to find a new game after every one single race, and it does take time to find a game, and it just makes it a frustrating experience. If they could sort that out, it would improve this game drastically, but I have to say there's far too many other things wrong with this game to even recommend it. So sorry to see the Micro Machines name on this particular title, which is not deserving of it. It's not often I give such harsh reviews of games, but this one disappointed me a lot. So until they fix this game, I would not recommend purchasing it. Oh, that's sad, isn't it? Moving on to another game which is a lot better than that one. It's Black Ops 3, a kind of older game now, I think came out in 2015. I got this for the bargain price of 99.95 Danish kroner, which isn't so bad for this game. Back when I was last in the UK, this game seemed to be retaining its value pretty well. There's still a lot of people out there playing it. Had a lot of fun with this. First I was a little bit taken aback by the changes made. You have character classes now, which is new, as far as I know it's new for Call of Duty. It wasn't something I experienced playing Black Ops 2, which I really did enjoy. That, I don't know, I could do without it, but it is adding something new to the game. You have character-specific abilities, so depending on which character you choose, you can, you know, have different advantages over the other players. The actual shooting is top-notch, as per usual. Nice maps on this game. I got to play one that was at like a water park, which was really bright and colourful. I really like the use of colour in this. I have not played the single player yet. I'm not sure how colourful that mode is, but at least some of those multiplayer maps are really fun. I played the new version of Nuketown this morning. You can see that in the footage, and that was also really colourful. So, great game. You know, if you like Call of Duty, this actually does shake up the formula a little bit. It feels the least Call of Duty out of any other ones I've played because of its general fun presentation in the online area and its character classes. So, you know, it's a great game. I'm a little late to the party talking about Black Ops 3. I'm sure if you like Call of Duty, then you've also already probably enjoyed this game a heck of a lot, or maybe even still playing it. And lastly, a big old adventure game, a series that good friend and fellow podcaster Matt Boyle has been really getting into as of late. We have Yakuza Zero, a game I actually picked up a while ago, but I wanted to include it here because I've not actually been able to feature it in any videos. Didn't really fit in there, so when I was doing a PS4 one, I thought, well, I'll stick that Yakuza Zero in there. So despite having it for a while, I actually haven't played very much of it, unfortunately. It's kind of, I'm not felt like I could really get into a big game at the moment. I've just been dipping in and out of different things. Basically, just time I've had to play games just lately. But the great first impressions, I've only played a little bit the original Yakuza on PS2. For me, a lot of the draw of the Yakuza series has been its cinematic presentation and its similarities to Shenmue, which is a game I love very much. I also like the world of Yakuza. I am a huge fan of Takeshi Kitano, who is very famous for doing Yakuza movies. He does them in his own style, of course, and I probably appreciate him more as a director than a huge fan of Yakuza films. But there is something very interesting about the world of organised Japanese crime, and this game is pretty much like a Takeshi Kitano film, so that's good for me. If you listen to the podcast recently, you've heard Matt talk about this series and some of the characters, so I think if you're really interested in Yakuza, go back and listen to the last few podcasts, because Matt's been talking about them for a fair few weeks now. He's really getting through this series. This one takes place before, obviously, all the others, but the Zero there. You see a younger protagonist, Kazuma Kiryu is his name, and he is the series' mainstay character. You get to see him at a very young age, kind of very much learning his trade within as a Yakuza, and you're framed for the murder. When this murder has been now tied to your Yakuza group. Why such a low-ranking Yakuza, why you've been framed, is still a mystery at the point I'm in with the game, but it's causing a lot of trouble for the family that you are part of. So it's going to be very interesting. It's a nice setup for the plot. It's going to be very interesting to see how that develops. Gameplay involves talking to people in a similar way to Shenmue, and following objectives. You have to go certain places and meet certain people. There you are treated to some really well done cinematic sequences. Gameplay wise, you can do lots of things within the city. There's lots of mini games you can enjoy, like Shenmue again, but there's an emphasis on the combat, which is fun and functional, and you can upgrade your moves and such. But I think most people play Yakuza games for their characters and their storyline, and the gameplay supports the narrative here. The gameplay isn't necessarily the main draw of this game. The way it plays out, again, if you like Shenmue, you're probably going to like this. Visuals are really nice, I have to say. There's a lot of detail in the characters' faces, especially, you can see all the pores of their skin. And yeah, it's a really nice looking PS4 game. It's a quality package. I would recommend it for anyone who likes cinematic, movie-like experiences with great writing and characters and really high production values. And that is the end of the video. Thank you very much for spending nearly 20 minutes with me chatting about PS4 games. But yeah, Tekken 7's great. Micro Machines, major disappointment. Don't bother with it. You all know that Black Ops 3 is a very enjoyable game if you like Call of Duty games. And Yakuza Zero, great narrative-based game. And that's the first time I've ever really summed up an episode of Parry's Pickups before, but I thought I'd do that this time. Let me know if you've enjoyed the video, and I'll be back again with more Parry's Pickups very soon. Thank you very much for watching, and game on!